Imagine you have just finished a large, delicious meal. Maybe it was a bowl of pasta, a burger, or perhaps a sweet treat. You sit back feeling satisfied, but give it 30 minutes, and that satisfaction often turns into a heaviness. You might feel a wave of brain fog, a sudden dip in energy, or the urge to take a nap. We often call this a food coma, but biologically something much more turbulent is happening inside your blood vessels. You are experiencing a glucose spike. This rapid rise in blood sugar sets off a chain reaction of inflammation. An insulin release often followed by a crash that leaves you craving even more food. For years, we have been told that the solution to metabolic health is spending an hour at the gym sweating it out or running miles on a treadmill. But new research suggests that when it comes to managing how your body processes food, you do not need to become an athlete. You just need to understand how your muscles work as microscopic engines. Today, we are going to explore 4 specific movement patterns that essentially hack your biology. These simple actions allow your muscles to siphon off excess sugar from your bloodstream without relying heavily on insulin. It is a concept known as contraction-mediated glucose uptake, and it changes everything we know about eating and moving. Let us first look at the mechanics of what happens when you eat. When you consume carbohydrates, your body breaks them down into glucose, which enters your bloodstream. Think of your bloodstream as a highway and glucose as the cars. If too many cars enter the highway, at once you get a traffic jam. Usually your pancreas acts as a traffic controller, sending out a hormone called insulin to unlock your cells and let the glucose in. However, if you are constantly spiking your sugar, your body has to flood the system with insulin, and eventually the locks on the doors stop working. This is the path toward insulin resistance. But there is a back door. This is the secret weapon we are discussing today. When a muscle contracts, it triggers a different pathway. The muscle cells can open their doors to glucose without waiting for insulin to hold the key. This happens through a process involving something called GLUT4 translocation. Essentially, simply by moving your muscles, you create a vacuum effect, pulling the glucose out of the blood and burning it immediately for fuel. You can lower the traffic on the highway without overworking the traffic controller. The first technique to activate this backdoor is deceptively simple, and you can do it while sitting right where you are. It targets a specific muscle in the lower leg called the soleus. This deep muscle runs beneath your calf muscle, and it is unique because it is designed for endurance, not power. It does not tire easily and runs on a fuel mixture that makes it incredibly efficient at clearing blood sugar. This movement is often referred to as the Soleus Push-up. To do it, simply sit with your feet flat on the floor. Keep your toes planted firmly and raise your heels as high as they can go, then let them drop back down. It looks like you are nervously tapping your leg, but if you do it deliberately with a full range of motion, you are activating a metabolic power center. Dr. Mark Hamilton, a researcher at the University of Houston, discovered that this specific movement can elevate local muscle metabolism for hours. In his studies, people who performed these soleus contractions saw a massive improvement in how their body handled glucose and insulin after a meal. The beauty of this is that because the soleus is fatigue resistant, you can do this for 10 or 20 minutes while working or watching television, and you will not break a sweat. You are keeping the engine idling at a higher speed, burning off the fuel from your meal before it can accumulate. If you are able to step away from your chair, the second strategy is perhaps the most natural human movement of all, which is walking. We are not talking about power walking or trying to get your heart rate into a cardio zone. We are talking about a casual stroll. The timing here is what matters. Research on postprandial glucose shows that taking a walk within 60 to 90 minutes of a meal effectively flattens the glucose curve. Think of your digestion as a slow release process. As the stomach empties, glucose starts hitting the blood. If you remain sedentary, that glucose piles up. But if you start walking, you engage the large muscles of your legs, like the quadriceps and hamstrings. These are big engines. By walking at a comfortable pace for just 10 minutes, you divert that incoming energy straight into the working muscles. Studies comparing sitting still after a meal versus taking a short walk show the difference in the glucose spike is significant. It is not about burning calories for weight loss in this context. It is about matching the inflow of fuel with an outflow of energy expenditure clearing the bloodstream in real time. Now, let us say you are stuck indoors, or you want something a bit more potent than a walk. This brings us to our third movement, which focuses on interruption. In scientific literature, this is often called interrupted sitting. We live in a world where we sit for hours on end, which puts our metabolic machinery into sleep mode. One study compared the effects of taking a long walk versus doing short bursts of bodyweight exercises throughout the day. They found that performing a set of simple air squats every 45 minutes was incredibly effective at controlling blood sugar. The air squat is a compound movement that uses the glutes, the quads, and the core. To do this, just stand up from your chair, feet shoulder width apart, and lower your hips as if sitting in an invisible chair, then stand back up. You do not need weights, and you do not need to go to failure. Just doing 10 to 15 repetitions is enough to wake up those cellular pathways. If walking is a steady stream of energy usage, air squats are like revving the engine. By doing this periodically, you send a signal to your body that you are active and that fuel is needed, immediately preventing metabolic dormancy. The fourth and final strategy allows you to be productive while you manage your health. It leverages a concept known as NEAT, which stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This describes all the movement you do that is not sleeping or intentional sports. It turns out that house chores are a fantastic way to lower a glucose spike. After dinner, instead of immediately moving to the couch, consider tackling a small task. It could be washing dishes, vacuuming, or folding laundry. Vacuuming, for instance, requires you to push pull lunge and stabilize your core. It is a full body functional movement. When you combine the focus of the task with the physical effort, you are engaging multiple muscle groups simultaneously. This fits into the concept of exercise snacks, which are bite-sized portions of activity. By turning cleanup time into an active recovery session after eating, you are multitasking your metabolic health. You are cleaning your home and cleaning your bloodstream at the same time. It is important to understand why this matters beyond just the numbers. When you reduce the spike, you reduce the crash. This means you maintain steadier energy levels throughout the day, avoiding that mid-afternoon slump. Furthermore, by managing these spikes, you are protecting your body from glycation, a process where excess sugar molecules attach to proteins, causing damage and aging. You are also reducing the demand on your pancreas, preserving its ability to produce insulin efficiently for the long haul. So how do you implement this without it feeling like a burden? You do not need to do all four of these things every time you eat. The goal is to have a toolkit. If you are stuck in a meeting, use the Soleus Push-up. If you have a lunch break, go for the 10-minute walk. If you are working from home, set a timer to stand up and do some air squats. And if you have just finished dinner, help with the cleanup before you relax. These interventions challenge the all-or-nothing mentality of fitness. Biology works on the margins. Small, consistent inputs can have massive outputs. By enabling your mitochondria to use glucose through these simple contractions, you are taking control of your physiology, moving from passive storage to active utilization. Remember, this is not about punishment for eating. It is about partnership with your body. Your muscles are waiting to be used, and they are your greatest ally in processing the fuel you consume. So the next time you finish a meal, remember that you have a choice. You can let that glucose sit in a traffic jam, or you can open the back door and let the energy flow. Pick one of these movements to try today. Your mitochondria are ready to work, you just have to give them the signal.